Hello guys, to a little quick rigging guide. So a lot of people have asked me why joint chains shift. I don't remember if I made this video like before, but so now I'm going to show you why joint chains shift when you apply pole vectors to them, depending on how you create them. So I have here a few character meshes, and I'm gonna be demonstrating this process on a few of these, and showing you the reasons why this happens. So as you can see, all of them are not in a classic T-pose, none of them is. And when you create meshes like elbows, so let's create an elbow for one of these. Let's pick this big guy here. So let's go like to the front view, and so it's already not clear what view you choose, so you could probably choose front view or side view. It really depends on the amount of angle that is. So if it's further this way, you might prefer using the side view yet. Otherwise the front view, or maybe the top view if your angle is not too much. But it's anyway, and the new Maya, in Maya I'm still on 2013, or it's cut off in the video, but on the Maya 2014 you have the option to create joints on projection center. So if I were to just click here, it would pick it and put it exactly at the center of the projected mesh on my current cursor position. So but unfortunately I cannot show where this is here, so I'm just going to create a joint chain here quickly. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there we are. Straight joint chain. There he is. Now let's position it over here. Okay, so now comes the first thing. Rather than just pushing this guy and moving it over there, we'll do something else. I mean, you can do this, but depending on if you have automatically orient joints on or off, Maya will do some funky stuff to your joint orients. And it might be okay at the beginning to just get the x-axis pointing down if that's your primary axis, but if not, we want to be very mindful of how we choose our settings. Okay, so now here we are. Let's for the sake of this demonstration, pick it like this. Okay, so now we create an IK. So let's say this is our finished arm joint. Okay, there we are. We have a pole vector. Okay, now if I create a locator to make it quickly pole vector, if we just were to put it straight back, obviously this doesn't work. So we create a constraint pole vector. Did you see the joint chain switched? Okay, so this is because it's not aligning the triple joints vector plane, which means so off of these 3 points that the joints are building, you can build a vector plane, and you want your pole vector object to be on that plane. But that's not the only thing you need to keep in mind. So these 3 are building a plane now. We can stay on that plane by parenting the locator to one of these joints, zeroing out this transform so that matches like this object, putting it back, and unparenting it. So now we know it's exactly on the triple joint chain. Let's apply the pole vector now. Did you see? It still shifted. Why did it still shift? Well, it's because of the joint orientations. Let me quickly delete the IK handle, and we'll have a look at this joint here. Orientations. So you can see joint orientation X, Y, and Z have values. This is very bad. You really don't want to have this happen on the elbow or on the knee joint. So Maya doesn't give a shit about these orients when it automatically orients the joint. It doesn't know it. How could it? So we need to take care of this ourselves. So what does it mean? Our main bend axis needs to be the only axis which has joint orient values for elbow or knee joints. So in this case, let's stick with the Y, because you can see the Y gives us the kind of rotation we want. So neither X or Z should have joint orients. So what we will do is zero them out. Zero out the Y and the X, and zero out the Z. So you can see not much to change here. Our wrist joint is a little bit off, but now rather than fixing it by moving this guy to there, because that obviously would mess up our axes, either this joint chain still pointing to this position rather than here, or if we automatically reorient joints by Maya, messing up our joint orientations. So we just pick the main arm joint and rotate it in X, which is its main bend axis, twist axis. So we can rotate this until we reach like a spot we like. We'll rotate this in here. And rotate up a little more. Okay. Now we can freeze the transformations in this guy. To get rid of all of the rotation values, they are now calculated on the orientation. And if we take a look here, only our y-axis has values. So now what happens if we were to do this whole thing, parent to look here on this joint, move it back, on parent, and now point vector constrain that. Constrain point vector, and you see nothing happened. But by nothing I mean no field. Yeah. So obviously placing joints on non-T-pose arms is a little bit more difficult than placing them on like knees, because knees usually are very straight down, pointing straight forward. On this guy they aren't very much, so we would need to place one here and then go over there, but his knees are pointing outward. But it's not very difficult. So we can push this guy back, let's go with these guys, and then we can go to the side view. Let me in this case show you how to do double joints, because for the knees I prefer to use a double joint setup. So you can just place two of these guys, and I'll come back to the ankle. Okay, so it's very easy. You just place your joints and then take care to not rotate these guys either this way or that way, only in Z, because in this case Z is our main bend axis. So move this guy, let's move to the left side. The first joint we can do whatever we want to this, because it's the first joint, it won't affect the bend behavior. And we can do whatever we like to the last joint. So it can be pointing down the ankle or wrist better. Okay. So, and if you're placing joints, feel free to scale them. Let's scale in object mode, or you can pick the next joint and translate in local X. Either works fine, but remember, if you scale them, to freeze transformations after that. And you can scale if you are already frozen, skinned, so that would be something to keep in mind. But then you can rotate, and remember to only rotate in Z these double joints, nothing else. Let's get this guy not like this. Okay, that should be about it. And now if we switch transformations, if we take a look at these guys, you can see joint orient x has 180 degrees, which is not good, but it means it could basically also be 0. This guy is 0. The reason why this guy has a different joint orient is because of the way Maya works with joint orientations when placing the joints initially, because it aligns them the up axis to the word y. So which means if I were to place an S-type chain like this and view the local rotation axis of all of its children, you can see every single joint on the chain is trying to point its y-axis to the top. So as soon as our chain is more oriented like this joint will switch to point in this direction, because the angle would be closer to the word y up than what this guy's doing. So this is something to keep in mind. And then you would need to, in this case, you can see this guy's y is pointing that way, this guy's y is pointing that way. So a way to fix this is to just unparent these, rotate them 180 degrees in the x, reparent, and freeze. And now everything's fine. And if we go to the rotation axis, only z is having values, which means that our pole vector will work fine on this double jointed chain. So just to try this out, let's make a pole vector. Let's grab an object. Pole vector, and you can see nothing moved on this chain, but we have our pole vector behavior. So this is one way. Well, let me show you a way how to orient these joints correctly if you were to not want to put them in a like this. So that's another way where you can be most officially certain as well. So let's pick this guy's arms maybe, because they are like very like randomly oriented. There's no way to really tell where these arms are pointing. So what we can do is just create arms like, let's choose the front view. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, so it's on the front now, just move them back. Okay, so now what I will do is just move these joints, not really caring about whatever happens to them. Okay. So just moving everywhere in place. Now I'm holding the D key, which is a normal key to adjust the pivot. With this method we can adjust an in-between joint without affecting its downstream hierarchy. So we put it like little joints. So this is okay. So if we now want to have a look at these orients, make sure not too bad. Our y-axis is orienting correctly. But having a look at the orients, you can see in the elbow joints, the orientations are not right. So what we can do to fix this is, let me show you a quick method. On triple chains this works quite well. You can aim constrain them using the next joint in the chain as a word up vector. So let's work on this guy first. Excuse me. We aim constrain from this guy to that guy. Constrain aim. Can have a look at the Autodesk documentation to see how the attributes work, but the main is very easy. So the main axis vector is x, so aim vector triple x. Up vector we want to be z, so let's pick z. Object, a word up type, we will choose object up, so this joint's the axis will be pointing at that vector, at that object. And now I see in fact we need to do a negative C so that this axis still points forward, while the negative axis of this points in that direction to where this object is at. So here we type in joint 9, turn off the maintain F6, and go for it. And you can see it's slightly changed a little bit. Now we do the same for this center guy. What does this mean? Sorry, I just made a mistake. In fact, this guy needs to be on constraining this guy. C is pointing forward and it's joint 10. That's better. Okay. So now, but this was correct. And constrain from this guy to that guy. Oops. And this guy's z-axis should be pointing to what this guy is doing. So here, joint 8, apply. Okay. Now we can delete these two constraints. And if you reparent stuffs, you can see we have some rotations here, so let's pick the top joint and freeze them. And if you look at here, the y-axis is clean now, so this joint is perfectly suited for pole vector constraining. So that was a quick look at how to orient joints and why it's important to have clean orientations on the knee and elbow joints. This video is already getting too long, so I'm going to cut this down here. See you in the next one. Bye.